cards, 5 cards. 4.
Okay, good luck everyone.
Thank you.
Good luck. Seat 5, Omaha, 4 cards. Small, big.
Is that a race or a straddle?
This is all in.
Straddle, 4. Okay, straddle, 5.
Seat 1, straddle 5.
My dear, you need to deal those here.
It's 4, the straddle. Sorry.
4 is easy, you can put it back.
Yeah, you put the cards, please. Seat 1, straddle 4. 4, raise, seat 2, raise 15.
My straddle.
Yeah, I know. I have to put
Call.
Can you handle the
me not straddling more.
Can you handle
Seat 5, pass.
I don't think so, but let's try.
Seat 7, raise 57. Seat top, pass. Seat 1, pass. Call, pass. Two players.
Petar tog 50 kort under CGF stopp, 48 lappar lappar.
Я думаю, Red Bull.
Bet 125, seat 7. Call.
Sorry about that, guys. Had a couple of little difficulties there as we scan in on the first hand here. You can see Lucien 3-betting Peter Latera calling, flopping top 2 pair versus Lucien's 9-8 straight. So it's going to need 8 jack or 10 for Latera to improve here. In a really shitty spot, facing a 3-bet is going to be much more likely to be having hands like ace queen king, ace king with spades, something along that region. So Latera needing a jack or 10 to try and salvage something out of this pot. There's the 3. I'm not sure if they're running it once or twice. Looks like twice, and that's going to be a scoop for Lucien. Straight off the bat, 3-betting from the small blind with a double-suited rundown and getting the job done there. And that is one of the benefits of playing these kind of hands aggressively. Most people in a live Polymer Omaha environment will be happy to put you on overpairs such as aces or kings, you know, double-suited kings, any aces, in this kind of spot, and you do get the value in these situations that, you know, if you do only 3-bet aces and good kings, you do tend to miss out because your range is a lot more face up post flop, and especially from the small blind can be very difficult to proceed. So thanks for joining us, guys, here on day 2 of the Cash Game Festival in Bucharest.
250, 500.
Good to see some of you guys joining us, and please do feel free to make yourselves known in the chat. As you can see there, Lucien in seat 7 picking up that first pot. Got a couple more players joining us very shortly. Sam Clark there, you can see in seat 5, just conferring with one of the members of staff here. And it's going to be 4 or 5 card Omaha, so the dealer button will be choosing the variant. I think there's Ante there, who's the big winner yesterday in the 4-5 card Omaha stream. Seemed to have a set, the straight or the nuts on pretty much every board he played. It was an incredible run, winning over 2,000 euros in a 2-2 game, so very well done to him. The format today is going to be the same as yesterday, as we did have 2-2 4-5 card PLO followed by 2-5 no limit hold'em. It's all in euros as well. The local currency is the Romanian lei, but for the Cash Game Festival during the week we will be using the euro currency, as it's just a little bit easier on the guys that are traveling from other parts of Europe. to not have to fiddle about changing currencies and so forth.
5. Sit, 3, pass. 4. 19. 20. Yeah, more easy. Pass. Call. Pass. Okay. Pass.
So Sam raising it up with a really nice playable hand. Does have position as well. Ace King double suited. Side cards have some half decent connectivity, and oh, that's a rough flop for him as Andreas continues that smashing form that we saw yesterday, flopping middle set versus Sam's top and bottom. And what does Sam need here? He needs some sort of queen 10. An ace wouldn't be good either, as Andreas also has the ace. So he is in jail here with a hand that, you know, looks pretty good. And this will test Sam, who is predominantly a Hold'em player, but happy to get the money in by the looks of things. Only wants to run it once. Oh, that gives him an out. He needs the queen now to... Yeah, and it's the diamond, so Andreas won't like that card, but he will be pleased to see that he had a commanding lead on that flop, calling out the small blind with the ace jack jack and flopping just about the dream. Sam with top and bottom there. Andreas continuing his dominant run so far, while Sam unfortunately hasn't had the best of starts to his week here in Bucharest. Really nice chap. I'm rooming with him this week, and been really enjoying some of his vlogging content he's been putting out on YouTube. And if you do want to check that out, I'll just put the link in the chat for you right now. Does some great work, and I really feel like he's hit a niche in terms of the YouTube vlogging market for poker players. Ah, here he is. Go on then, Yubsy. How's the Fortnite grind getting on for you, pal? Oh, Connor Oldroyd. Didn't realise he'd be joining us there in seat 4. Nice fresh t-shirt, as I'm sure his friends will be happy to see. Was sweating absolutely buckets yesterday in that black getup that he had going on.
How much do you play? 200? Sit 5, 200. Sit 6, 400.
Argo! Did you find what you were looking for in Bratislava? Ah, yes, the secret package, of course. Andreas running good again. Yeah, he won 2k yesterday, and he's already up in the first hand another 200. So things are good for Mr. Ante. Sat there in seat 8. Winning a hell of a lot of money over the last 2 cash game festivals. Must be up to the tune of about 5k, which isn't too bad considering that he's played about 4 or 5 sessions. I'm not sure what the outer tables were like. Yubes saying he wishes Fortnite came out when he was 7. Yeah, true, but kids these days don't see a lot of sunlight or play a lot of sport as much as they used to, which is also important in a child development. If it takes breaking a leg to win 5k in 2 stops, then, you know, I think there'd be a lot of people out there that would do it. That is very true, Yubsy. Just trying to think on a more macro level, but of course, for yourself, that would have been the ideal childhood, wouldn't it? So Lucian popping it up with aces, and a load of rather speculative calls behind us is rather common for 5-card Omaha. People see 5 cards and think, hey, I've got a shot. And Latera who defended the big blind with just a 4 high flush draw, a low pair and some rather speculative connectivity, is going to lead this one on the turn. Goes for the smaller size. He is aware that he's going to be trying to get some value from hands like Ace King, hands like King 9. If he does go too big, he might fold out those hands and only get called by a better 4, which is quite important. And with the 8 on the river, just going to play some pot control, try and get that one to showdown, and wins 92 euros. And you see there, you know, for the hand that he had defending the big blind, that's probably one of the most gin flops. And due to the fact that there are 5 cards in your hand, he's only going to win a pot of like 92 or lose a big one if he is up against a bigger 4 there, or does run into a hand that dominates his flush draws or straight draws, for example. So I think it's one of those things that people get a little bit wrong when they move or start playing 5-card Omaha, or just the population in general, defending big blinds and small blinds super wide based on the fact that they're getting a good price. Yeah, fair enough, you might be getting 5-6 to 1 on your money, but you know, how often are you actually going to win the pot with such a low equity hand that really has no nuttedness? So back to the 4 card. Our man, Mr. Oldroyd, under the gun.
Don't touch his cards, please.
With
Call?
did go fully skinhead recently. Oh, gives the little dealer a wink there as he peels under the gun. You got to love it. Smooth as ever. Our Cockney geezer from the East End, Mr. Oldroyd.
Call.
In for 500. Hopefully he can get a spin up, as he's not been running the best of it on Cash Game Festival tables as of late. Did join us in Bratislava as well. And Andreas here popping it up. He's got a 3-liner with double suitedness in the cutoff, looking to bump up the pot in position. Gets a couple of pretty loosey-goosey calls behind. I guess Pierre has a nutted draw with the clubs. Let's have a look and scan down through the whole cards here. Lucien once again flopping the best of it. Top 2 with a gut shot. Backdoor spades as well. Andreas has flopped himself a 9-7 open-ender, which is sort of the mug's end of the open-ended straight draw. Has backdoor clubs. And Laterra there, who has Ace-King, which is a gut shot to the nuts. And he's got basically a double gutter there, hasn't he? So Lucien picking up that flush draw with his top 2. Going to lead out for 20. And that looks like a 9 on the river, is it? Or a 6? Can't quite see there over the dealer's right hand shoulder. It's a 6. So remember, in Omaha, guys, it doesn't mean that any 9 now is a straight. You have to have another card with it. So 8-9, 10-9, 7-9, Jack-9 of course would be the best one. Shows the 2 pair, and that's going to be good.
Cards, sit 2.
So we order directly.
We play 5 cards.
Oh, Sam there looks interested.
Sit 5
Looks like
four.
he's going to come in for a call. Playing 5 card now. Has himself Ace King Jack 9-9 with 3 diamonds. Nut suit, some relatively decent connectivity. Having the sort of medium pair in there does hamper his equity multi-way somewhat, because the more players that are in there, the more chance that you are going to get set over set if you do flop a set.
Sit 2 call.
But definitely a hand that you can be
Sit
working in
four pass.
as a call. And so it looks like we're going to go multi-way once again, 4 or 5 people to a flop. Stefan has nut hearts, Latera nut clubs with queens. Does also have the double suited queens as well, so he's got a pretty playable hand there. And Istrate and Andreas not yet able to see what they've got, but they are both in. So 56 euros to the flop,
Sit 5
and it's a
check.
favourable one for Stefan and Sam. Sam flopping the open ender with backdoor diamonds.
Sit 6 bet 50.
Has some backdoor straight draws as well if it comes queen jack.
Pass.
He would have the nuts with ace king. Stefan has the nut flush draw with a weak
Raise
gut shot.
175.
And Latera, it's a swing and a miss for him. Even though he's got the overpair there, multi-way, his hand's not going to be doing very well at all. But Istrate looks interested as well, so it'd be interested to see what he's got. I don't really see any 10s or 8s out there, so it could be highly likely that he has top middle set or top 2. Sam making a nice discipline lay down there, getting away from the open ender. Not going to have enough equity there multi-ways, especially when 2 players are essentially committing their stack.
One time.
And
Stack a break.
Istrate, we've seen Stefan's hand. Let's see. Oh, he's got 3 8s. Wow. So he needs to fade everything. And that's the first board for him. Needs to fade a 9 or a heart. There's the 9, so Jack 7 improving to the straight, and 6 on the river is going to be a chop chop.
7 6 3 4.
You've got Jack 7, pal, but both are good. I think limping in 5 card is good personally sometimes. I wouldn't do it as wide as Sam was doing it there, but I think especially if you're in like a pretty action heavy game, working in some limp calls, limp raises can be good. Just because of your positional disadvantage, I think later on in the hand, want to be limiting the amount that we do get in pre-flop and being able to set our own price, rather than, you know, raising, being 3-bet, being out of position for the rest of the hand, and it's just going to be tough to realise.
Omaha. 4 cards. Sit 3 Omaha 4 cards. Small, big.
I mean, it depends. If we've got 250 big blinds deep, I don't think that we're going to be able to lessen the SBR enough of the time to be able to justify potting our entire range that we play from the under the gun. There are so many good things that can come from limping a strong hand in EP, where it goes pot, call, and then you can repot, as opposed to if you pot, no one's really going to 3-bet you light, and then you can't get the SPR lower that way. Yeah, in 4-card PLO, the Jane Nandez live 4-card RFI ranges from EP between 6 and 8%. That's in a live 9-handed PLO. But then in 5-card, I think there are a couple more combos that you want to be adding in there as well. Generally, I base the ranges off of the stuff that he's doing and working some limps as well, just because of how action heavy some of the games I've been playing in have been.
Check. Sit 4. Your turn. No problem. Sit 4, check. 24, 25. 25. Sit 5 bet 25. Sit 1 pass. You have a new dealer, good luck. Omaha făcut. Omaha 4 cut.
Just going to have to take a short break from the commentary as we've got to move around a couple of items in the casino. I'll be right back.
Hello. Four cards. Sit 7 pass. Sit 8 5. Sit 1 call. Sit 2 raise. 20. Sit 3 call. Sit 4 pass. Sit 5 pass. Sit 6 pass. And some change, please. Some change. Thank you. Sit 8 check. Sit 1 check. Sit 2 bet 80. Sit 3 pass. Sit 8 pass. Sit 1 pot. 325. All in, all in.
What you want? 1, 2. You choose.
Okay, go 2 then.
2 times. Can I see?
And we're back in the action just at the right time
Right?
as we have multi-way here. What is going on? Oh, Peter Latera has top and bottom. Pierre had the open ender. And Stefan with middle set. And the money's been flying in here. 1.5k in the middle. Wow. And middle set is going to hold up on 2 boards there as no one even has the wrap or a better set. That is incredible. And Stefan moving his stack all the way up to 1.5k as we see in 2-2 4 card, 500 euros each flying in on the flop. Wow. So it looks like it's going to be a reload there from Mr. Latera. And Stefan there, beaming ear to ear, stacking up all those chips, having a little conversation with Ante. Both guys getting the absolute lot at the moment.
How many cards? Sorry? How many cards? 4 cards.
Chiamă-mă că n-am înțeles, nici eu n-am înțeles ce ai zis. Păi avem text, cum să n-avem? Eu am înțeles altceva, frate. Nu te pune tata.
Stradă 4. Sit 1 pass. No bar.
No, I haven't got that in the end though, but I am going to be getting it when I get back. Pretty hectic week this week, commentating and playing, and then I've got 2 weeks before I go to Vietnam to get stuck into the mastermind and get started into a better study routine. No poker planned whatsoever for 2 weeks, which is going to be an interesting one because it is something that I have been accustomed to, just grinding every single day live cash. Did you hear the thoughts that I said about the early position limping stuff? Any insight on that? Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's why I sort of work in the limps to get around that. Yeah, we'll definitely do some lab stuff if you're in the 5-card streets and doing some PLO focus as well. Looking forward to that, mate. Be better to get back into a good sleeping routine as well for me. It's been sort of all over the place. 2 hours here, 3 hours there. So I'm looking forward to just sort of having a bit of time off, despite absolutely loving the game. Feeling like my game's improving every day. Definitely is beneficial to take a bit of time out for yourself and work on things off the table.
Mamă, el vrea din sec roșu. Dacă nu acum. Nu sweet am zis sec.
Yeah, for me it's like bed at 4, up at 7, sort of fuck around on my phone for a bit, and then eventually get back to sleep. Another 3 hours, 2 hours, all over the shop. So guys, if you are tuned in, if you've got a hometown hero here, let us know who you're supporting, who you're hoping to see get all the cake over the next hour and a half or so. Looks like we got the 8 straddle on here, so already money going to be flying in. What happened to your Twitch Twitch Prime thing there? It's just suddenly gone off. Decided to sack it in.
248.
Yeah, Lucian's definitely been clucking for the action here. Definitely got a Dracula-esque look about him. We are in Transylvania after all. So a couple of suspicious looking limps here. I mean, this straights hand is pretty playable despite the fact that multi-way his flush draws are not going to be as live as much. And for that reason, I'd probably just pop the button here with that kind of hand, just to avoid it going limp, limp, limp. And as you can see now, his spades are dominated by Latera. Lucian has a club there. But you just want to force as many people out as possible when you do have a double-suited hand that doesn't have nutted draws, especially when you've got position as well. Like, it's such a playable hand, Jack 10-9, obviously being the 3 cards that are going to join up to make the most amount of straights and flop nutted straight draws. Looks like Lucian's flopped a 6-high flush, which is going to be good from the 3 players we can see there. Scanning the cards now. Doesn't look like the other guys have any additional equity. Andreas and Stefan not showing any interest either. Yeah, makes sense.
Check. Sit 1 check, sit 2 check. 6 check.
And a deuce of hearts on the river, so, you know, 5 ways. I'm not really sure if Lucian could go for like a tiny bet here of like 20 euros just to try and get called by like a 2 pair or a set. But I think his hand will be good. The problem is with betting is that he does open up the door for someone just to use an ace blocker or a queen to just pot over the top of him. What will be a relatively cap range after the flop and turn check round. So you might want to just play it as check the side.
Okay, I'm gonna speak louder. Okay. Oh, okay.
As you can see there in the background, we do have the NetBet Open running alongside the Cash Game Festival this week. The main event being a €330 buy-in, €100,000 guarantee. Day 2 of the High Roller is currently running as well, the €660 event, which got just over 20 runners. So about 4K up top, sorry, 5K up top, I think 3K for second. Oh, what would it? It'd be about half the prize pool, 33%, 17%. So about 6K up top there. Sort of playing, I suppose, as a sit and go. So Pierre there letting go of that Ace King Jack 9-3. I think a wise decision. And Connor's got a very playable hand here. Double suited Ace King King. So we're on the 2-2-5. And he's going to just pot it up to 25. Which I think is a little bit too large. 2-2-5, 15. 20 I think would be the size of the pot. Looks like he's getting away with the 25 though. Not sure what's going on there. 3 times the 5 big blind plus the 4. Should be 19 or 20, but nice spot for Connor, being able to get an extra few euros in there. It's a bit of a disaster of a flop for him. Latera flopping top pair with the gut shot. Lucian shows no interest either, so checking round here to the turn card, which is going to be the 8. Latera improving to the nut straight. 79 euros in there. Checks out 1 black chip, the blacks are 100. If you guys are interested in what the chip denominations are, they are just there in the chat for you now. €1 for blues, €5 for the 5s, the reds, €25 for the greens. And Latera there improving to the straight, taking that one down with a stab on the turn. Any idea how much did Lucian buy in for? What's he on at the moment? We have the buy-in information here. I'll just get that for you now.
You're not big blind. You're not big blind yet. No rush. 5 cards. Small blind, please.
Believe 500. Stefan so far I think 500. This Laterra face looks familiar. Is he a regular in Europe? Mosui. Not sure if a troll or not. He's very much a regular player here at the Cash Game Festival.
€8. Sit 4 call.
One of the founders of the game of Sviten, I believe. And there is an interesting tutorial here.
Sit 6 call.
Where he goes through the rules of that crazy 5-card Omaha 5-card draw split pot game. Which is very entertaining, and looks like he's got himself a nice bottle of red wine to soak down some of the early losses that he's encountered during the stream so far. I'm a rogue maverick. Keyboard warrior as well. So Pierre opening up under the gun, ace, jack, jack 2. Connor 9, 8, 8, 6, 4. Going to come along, double suited, middling connectivity. And a great flop for Pierre here, who flops top set. Doesn't have any hearts in his hand and does have a deuce, so definitely wants to start betting. There are arguments for checking some hands like aces with a nut flush draw here, just because you really don't have any bad turn cards on a board, which is in this fashion. However, Istrate is going to come along, does have top 2 pair, and it could be an absolute nightmare if we do see the 9 on the turn. Oh wow, he's raised to 80. And Pierre now double checking the cards. Yep, I do still have the nuts. Is he going to just call, or is he just going to put it back in his eye? Goes for the call, and I really like that. I think if you are getting heat from your opponent in this fashion, you definitely want to give them rope to make them think that they have the best hand, and he does improve to the nut flush draw on the turn as well. So let's see if Istrate here shoves the rest of it in. Yeah, just snap pots it with top 2. And what is his opponent drawing to there? 10-7, so he needs an 8. An offsuit 8. 3 left, 3 out in the deck for Istrate. It's true. I wouldn't dare say anything on home soil. So an 8 needed for Istrate here, as we see a classic example of someone overplaying their hand massively in 5-card Omaha. Top 2 pair. No good with an ace showing versus a guy who's potted under the gun and bet called the flop. I mean, at best you're hoping for, let's say, kings with hearts. Which will still have a decent amount of equity in 5-card, as some of the side cards could have been straight draws, etc. No. Unless you lose your stack, you're not allowed to leave the table for the 2-hour period. You're in for the long haul, just to make sure that people aren't rat holing or anything like that, or just, you know, coming in right at the end, just for that, you know, customary 4-way all-in that we do seem to see at the end of these 2-hour streams in 5-card Omaha. A couple of guys have done it in, a couple of guys are up chunks, and both of those types of players collide.
Oh no, it's okay. Just change some money. How many cards?
I mean, I don't think it's going to be punishable by an awful lot. It's just kind of going against the ethics of the game. And yeah, in for 100, out for the lot, straight off to the bar.
500.
I like the term "ride off." It implies you've got a sort of a servant to carry you over there. Mobility scooter. It's not getting that bad, is it?
Sit 4 pass. Sit 5 pass. Sit 6 call.
Definitely make life easier as a poker player, that's for
8
sure.
call. Sit 1 raise 25. Sit 2 pass, sit 3 pass.
So Lucian popping it up, double suited King Jack 10-10. Got a couple of other relatively decent hands. Stefan deciding to 3-bet the button, which I don't mind. Being deep stacked, you're just really not going to get 4-bet that often, and you do block the 4-betting range as well. Like, even if someone has bad aces out of position for 700 big blinds in 5-card Omaha, are they really just going to start 4-betting and trying to pile the money in? Takes a very specific type of hand to be confident enough to 4-bet, and just due to the fact that you are out of position post-flop, and there are a lot of boards where your range is completely face up and you're just going to get owned. What, so anyone in Vegas can just hop on into a mobility scooter? Or do you have to have some kind of disability? Looks like 10s are going to be good here unless this straight can beat them. Yeah, that's going to be the absolute lot. Top boat there. Playing it tricky, hoping to get a bet out of a 9-3 and 9-7 type hand. Maybe a rivered full house. Maybe even a nut flush that's going for some thin value. And it's quite nice to see someone who's, you know, balancing these type of hands from time to time. Turning the effective nuts. And just playing their hand a little bit deceptively just to try and eke out some value. More often than not, if your opponent does have a 9, they are going to be more likely to bet call than call. So you can get a bit more money out of them that way. Especially if you play your hand tricky like that, and it kind of, you're perceived not to have it. Cheers, boss. Yeah? Nice.
Sit 5 fast. Sit 6 raise 6. 7 calls, 8 call. 6. Sit 1 call.
So it's straight moving it up to 6. Lucian calling, Andreas calling, Stefan calling, Latera calling, Pierre calling, and Connor is going to defend with a pretty good hand from the big blind here. As I said earlier, I think a lot of people over-defend from the big blind in 5-card with hands that are easily dominated by the field, whereas Connor here, he's got a decent pair, and he's got a nut flush draw and a couple of and a jack high flush draw as well, which can come in handy from time to time. Does flop himself the nut flush draw here with nut spades. Has a 3 as well, and you know, he could hit a 9 on the turn, which could also be the best hand a lot of the time. So lots of options here for Connor. Just scanning down the cards there, Andreas has himself middle set, so Connor in a little bit of trouble against that hand, but still not as much of an equity underdog as you'd think. Is wrapped around the 10 with the Jack 9 too, so any 8, 7, King, Queen improves his equity, which is good. And he's got some great action in front of him here, and with the nut flush draw you just want to be piling it in. Oh, just goes for the call. I think here you just want to thin out the field, try and get it in with one guy and run it twice, and then you can chop up all of the dead money. I think playing these kind of hands aggressively is going to pay off. However, potentially thinking that he could stack a worse flush on the turn and not have to pay as much. In my boat here, if I've just got a 400 stack, I'm seeing 210 in there. I'm piling it in all day and hoping to thin out the field here. There is the spade though, and he does have the nuts now. And his decision here, will it be to check? Looks like he's going to go for a bet of 150. Can't see anyone else with a flush at this point. And this is the problem here, like when you do call and improve, now you're leading when you have basically 0 bluffs.
8 pass.
Not calling the flop to lead into 4 players there with just the spade blocker. But he does get a call out of Istrate, who's certainly been on the wilder side of things. And Andreas there getting away from middle set on the flop, which is good to see. Connor now with 2-3-4 left. Just wants to take his time a little bit and shove it in. And Istrate here doesn't look like a happy customer, sort of the demeanour of someone that maybe has a jack or king high flush and was hoping for a check. But he did just stack off with the ace-9 on the ace-9-2 versus an EP pot. And looks like he's got himself into another relatively common, and a lot more common than you'd think, spot in 5-card Omaha. Still mulling it over. And I think what you've got to think in these type of spots when you do have that kind of second nut hand, how likely is my opponent to have the nut blocker here? And the fact that Connor led into 4 players on the turn after overcalling the multi-way action on the flop, it just seems rather unlikely that he's going to have the plan to do that out of position to then turn, on the off chance the spade comes on the turn, to then turn the nut blocker into a bluff. So I think this would be a particularly under-bluffed line. There are many lines in 5 cards where it can be a lot more likely that your opponent is less value heavy and just using that blocker. But this one here, leading for quite a meaty size on the turn after overcalling the flop, and now pretty much snap jamming it on the river. It's unfortunate news there for Istrate, as he will get shown the goods. And Connor, well-deserved sip of beer after getting the full double up there. 1k pot flying his way, and it's good to see East London getting back on the scoreboard at the Cash Game Festival. Moving up to 1,000. I think he was in for 500, so that's a nice 500 profit for him so far. And, you know, there is the good chance to spin it up in these games. We've seen winners of 2k or more in, you know, over the space of only a few hours. We do the 2-hour sessions now, just because I felt like we used to do the 2.5, 3-hour sessions, and they could get a little bit stagnant, especially in the no limit hold'em towards the middle. And now with the 2 hours, we're going to see a lot more action, and Istrate straight back in there for the straddle, loving it. Good to see. Ante, you can see there in seat 8, had an early double up on the non-alcoholic beers. Very much business first and foremost.
Seat 7 pass. Seat 2 raise 10. Seat 3 pot 40.
So Latera raising it up to 10 from the cutoff. Three Broadway cards with the king high suit, definitely going to be an open. Pierre on the button there, 3-betting him to 40. Haven't seen an awful lot of Pierre apart from his top set. And Latera calling. Oh, there we can see Pierre with ace king jack 7 double suited. Certainly not a board I'd be looking to attack here with four red cards. You're not really going to be perceived to have too much 7-5, 6s, 4s or 3s in your 3-betting range. And And so Latera now improving to 2 pair, and he's going to be very comfortable with this spot. He's going to think that his opponent is going to be more likely to have a hand like aces or kings with spades than just complete air. And improves now to the second nut flush on the river.
C3 check, showdown.
It's going to be tough for him to get some value, as you know he's going to be, his continuing range is going to be perceived to be a flush draw a lot of the time on the flop. And does check it over on the river, just hoping for a stab at it, maybe with aces, with the ace of spades that he can call off. But doesn't want to lead, get shoved on, be a bit of a nightmare situation for him. So I think he's played that hand very well. Didn't particularly like Pierre's continuation bet on the flop. I think if we are betting there with diamonds and hearts on spade club 6-3-4 board, we're pretty much c-betting 100%, and that's not the strategy that you want to be employing in pot limit Omaha. He might have thought, oh, I've got the 7 blocker, you know, I can represent that, but you know, how often is he going to show up with 7-5 there in his 3-betting range, button versus cutoff? Not an awful lot. Certainly not implausible.
Sit 4 Omaha for cards. Sit 7 straddle 5.
I'll be 2 seconds while we're just waiting for the next hand.
C2 raise 15. C3 pass. C4 call. C5 pass. C6 call. C7 call.
Connor picking up kings with a 10 high suit on the button, coming in for a call.
4 players.
Oh, and there's top set for the man from Canvey Island.
C7 check. C2 check.
Yet to see the whole card information of the other players. It'd be interesting to see if he does have a
4.
fortunate set of a set situation. Checks to him, looks like he's bet about 2/3 pot.
C6 pass.
Does have a 10 blocker and I think backdoor spades. We just need to go back to that flop if we can see it again.
C2 call. 2 players.
Yeah, so backdoor spades.
C2
Not the best
check.
of cards for him. Queen 9 and ace queen getting there. But still way ahead of some of the sets on the flop. Latera giving him a little stare down there. And a 10 on the river. So very fortunate series of events here for Connor, who has the absolute nuts because he does have the 10 in his hand, so his opponent can't have quads.
120. Pass. Seat 5, Omaha for cards. Seat 1, straddle 5. Seat 2 pass. Seat 3 pass. 19.
So another playable hand for Connor, picking up Queen Jack 10-9 with the Queen High suit. Looks like he should be raising this one. Yeah, pops it up to pot, which is 19. Usually they do tend to round it, but looks like we're just going to have 19 here. Is straight. Oof. In there with 10-8, 5-4 from the small blind. Do not try this at home, kids.
2 players. Seat 6.
And decent flop for Connor. Flopping himself a nut wrap.
Or check.
Doesn't elect to continue on a board where he's got a significant range advantage here. He should be the only person to have aces and does have way more kings in his range than his opponent. So it's a good time to start betting. His opponent just has an 8 and lets it go, and Connor gets away with one there. I think I would have liked to see a flop bet with that particular holding. We've got a lot of equity regardless. And we do want to start applying some pressure on some weak aces and some king x, of course, that will just fold to usually one bet.
Omaha, pas de code. Change. Seat 6, Omaha 5 cards. Big blind. Seat 3 pass.
Looks like we're going to have Connor in the mix once again, popping it up to 7.
7.
Queen Jack 7-6-5, winning a lot of pots
Seat 5 pass. Seat
so
6
far.
call. Seat 7
Sam
call.
gets away, and this straight there has a lovely hand. Definitely would be 3-betting this one myself versus hijack. I think versus EP we can call, but I think our hand plays very well, and we do want to push some equity and force out some of those loiterers in the blinds there from killing some of our equity. And this is the problem here, as does let in a couple of those guys, and they do flop semi well, so his equity goes down significantly despite flopping 10 high flush draw top pair with some other backdoor stuff to go.
It's not fit.
So Connor's going to bet 30. He's got essentially the best flush draw at the moment, and he's also got a hell of a lot of good things that can happen as well, with the Queen Jack wrapped around the 10, the 7-6 giving him a nut gut shot with the 4, and middle pair as well. So gets a call out of Istrate, who's got the worst flush draw, and Stefan comes along as well with naked kings and some backdoor clubs.
3 players.
Ace of clubs is just about the gin card there for Stefan, improving to the nut flush draw with the gut shot, and has 43% equity. Connor now deciding whether he wants to continue to barrel here,
Hand of 10.
and he does have all of the aces in his range, and definitely would c-bet, especially with it being the ace of clubs. He can definitely bet the nut flush draw on the flop. He's going to get a rather quick call there out of Stefan, and the 3 on the river. Let's see if Connor can go for another bet here. It would be a great spot to turn this hand into a bluff. Get some 10x to fold, get some missed clubs to fold. The king high flush draw.
Sit 4 bet 150.
And gets the snap fold out of Stefan. So lovely stuff there from Connor with a well-timed triple barrel bluff, understanding his range advantage situation and the fact that he can get a lot of hands like the one that Stefan had off on the river to a single bet. I like him going half pot there. I think that the mistake a lot of people make is that they end up sort of panicking and going for the full pot on the river. If you really had rivered the aces full there, you would want to be trying to get some value from your hand.
Omaha 5 cards. City straddle 5. Sit 4 pass.
So Connor on an absolute surge of a run there, playing very well.
Sit 5 pass.
Decided to let one go this time. Sam's out.
Sit 7 pass. Sit 1 call. Sit 2 call. Sit 3 check. 4 players.
So 4 late position players here on the 5 straddle, and a good flop for Laterra, who flops a deuce, but also Pierre as well. So he's got himself in a nice situation here.
4 players.
Although Pierre has the equity advantage with the spades and gets there with deuces full of tens now.
15.
And Laterra's going to need, thank you, a queen or a jack.
15. What? Oh, okay. 65. And dosage.
How much then? 65?
Yes. That's rough cup.
Pierre raising to 65, and Laterra's in a bit of a tough spot here. Completely dead versus pocket tens, which is certainly a hand that Pierre can have, but has reasonable equity versus 10 deuce or just a naked deuce, or you know, a lot of bluffs that could be in there as well.
Sit to check.
4 on the river misses Laterra completely, and I think he's going to wave the white flag on this river. 150 in there. Let's see what sizing Pierre goes for. It looks
65.
to be about 78. 55, sorry. 2 greens and 5 blues.
Sit to pass.
And Laterra makes a disciplined lay down there. Good stuff from him.
Hur mycket? Bingo med Stefan, halvbra, alla lite bättre.
Omaha.
Men det är ju några som...
Texas.
De synar ju bara med dåligt och bettar rakt in och bra.
Omaha 5 cards. Sit 1.
Men så jag checkar med bra, bettar är dåligt.
Tu cât ți-ai zis? Am uitat.
5. Nu te-am preferat la școală.
You have 4?
Now I have 5.
Sit 5. Pass. Sit 7. Raise. 6. Sit 8. Raise. 20. C1 call, C2 call, C3 pass,
So a bunch of very playable hands in the mix here, as Andreas seizing control of the pot with that 3-bet with the aces. Ace 10 6 6. Looks like he's got a couple of callers as we wait for the graphics to catch up.
C2 check, C7 check, sit 8 45. Sit 1 raise. 170. 170. 170.
Hey Jeffrey, mate, how you doing?
7 pass.
Yeah, great casino on the inside, mate. I really like the interior and the design of the place. We're also running a net bet open as well, a €330 event, 100k guarantee. Just waiting for the graphics to pick up on this one, but we remember that Ante in C8 does have the aces, and that's going to be a bit of a disaster of a turn card for him. I think he had diamonds with them.
Sit 8 check. Sit 1 bet.
La main event, pauză 15 minute.
Yeah, very well, my friend. Been loitering around Europe now for almost 2 months. So looking forward to going home on Monday, but still enjoying it nonetheless. What's been your grind recently?
Sit 8 pass.
Ooh, and shows the blufferino there. Putting his opponent on aces and thinking, well, I'm gonna have a good go at this. I've got some decent equity. I'm just gonna river the nuts anyway, so no problem.
Four, 5 cards. 6.
Ah, sorry to hear that.
Too much.
What is it that you're studying again, pal?
Sit 2 Omaha. 5 cards. Bucharest.
From China. Yeah. From China. Mongolia. Okay. Good poker games in Custom. Yeah. Good one. They play for yak skin. Small bets to win. Yeah, I mean, you get some good 6-card games in London, in Aspen. In Aspen? Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I've been there many
Sit 5 pass.
John Scanlon. I feel like I recognise you. Maybe it's from there. Should have been there like
Sit 6 raise.
maybe 8-7 times. Yeah.
Da. 8. Sit 7 pass. Sit 8 call.
You have in Sweden? Yes.
Sit 1
You're kidding me.
call.
Norway's expensive. Every good wine there is.
Good stuff. Are you doing some internship stuff as well, or mostly just kind of theory and uni study? Yeah, I learned in the booth this week. I'm going to be joined by Sam Clark on the screen there on your left. Does some vlogging and YouTube content, which is a great idea, I think, for a UK player, as there is a real gap in the market for someone just to take over that particular scene.
C3 Omaha 4 cards. C6 straddle 5.
Certainly seems to be that way. Sorry, I'm just eating at the moment, so I need to turn the mic off for muting purposes. Not pleasant to listen to someone chopping their way through a meal. Yeah, I think that's exactly it. They're all Vegas-based, and if not playing around America anyway. Whereas I don't think you really see too many people in Europe or the UK especially put out that kind of content, despite there being just as much poker action.
No problem. C3 4, 29, 6 5 cards. C6 call, C8 call. C2 call. Oh, he changed it already.
So 4 ways to the flop here, with some rather speculative looking holdings once again. Pierre the best of it so far, but only 55% 4 ways, and that's gone down significantly with Istrate flopping top set. Andreas here with top 2, and no one with the flush, so it's probably going to be some relatively cautious play to the river, as Pierre river's the best hand with top set, and he'll be thinking surely someone's got a 9-7, a king queen. Straight once again, can't find a winner. Frustrated to see that he thought his jacks might have been good for that one, and not fortunate in this regard. Voicing his concerns there to seat 7, Lucian. Yeah, not King's Casino or Aspers, but there's some really interesting tournament series, cash games that are running, especially places like Tallinn, Bratislava. There's some really cool games there that, it's kind of a thing, because I'm interested in doing it myself, but it's like, do I want to give away some of these gold mine games that I've found that are just sort of there for the taking? Because it could incentivize more eggs to start turning up, etc., etc. So it's good for publicity and things like that, but affects your bottom line. Gonna have an interview with Pierre very shortly, so I'm not sure if it's going to be this hand or the next one, but do look out for that one, guys.
Hi guys, this is Maurits, straight from Cash Game Festival Bucharest. The TV table, we're playing 2-2 PLO and Pierre Olivier.
Yeah.
PO.
PO.
You play, yeah, Pierre. You're playing the playing the PLO.
Yeah.
Okay.
Playing PLOs. Going well so
It
far.
is? Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, you got a couple of locals, a couple of guys from UK, and a couple of Swedes.
Yeah.
And how is the competition?
Well, competition is okay. It's
Easy
fair.
for you, eh?
Nah, it's going well so far.
It's okay,
So I
it's
will
a-
not say easy. We'll
You're
see,
humble.
but
Thank you.
We will see how it goes
yeah,
later.
of course, later on.
No.
So, is this your first stop at the Cash Game Festival? Or
Yeah,
have you-
first stop. Yeah.
Okay.
I heard of you on the internet lately, and I was going to Romania for business, so I took the opportunity to
Business and
to
pleasure.
join. Yeah.
So you're actually working when
Yeah.
you're here. I mean, you're
Yeah, I was working during the day.
Yeah, okay.
And
now
I'm chilling now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Making more money on the TV table than you're making. Okay, but so are you gonna play any more TV tables or?
I'm leaving tomorrow actually, so maybe is there some space for the
Yeah,
Hold'em later?
Yeah, we're gonna play Texas 2-5.
Maybe.
Could be something.
Maybe, yeah.
So you're a recreational player.
Yeah.
Okay, played a lot.
How do you know? I look.
No, I'm looking at the stream. I mean, you have a work.
I'm playing.
You have a normal
sometimes,
job.
yeah, of course.
Okay,
No,
so you're from France, right?
Yes, from France.
From Paris?
Saint-Etienne.
Ah, okay.
Saint-Etienne.
You used to have a good soccer team.
We have.
No, you used to have. No, I'm messing with you. I'm messing it.
Yeah, it was better before, but
Go back to the table.
at the moment it's okay.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's not. No, it is. Let's go back to the table. Is it good? Do you have a good team?
Not too sure what's going on here, but we've got an all-in by the looks of things between Sam, Clark and Ante. The way Sam put his cards down there, he looked fairly confident he had the best hand. And Ante trying to search for a better hand, not looking like he's found it. Sam has... They're playing 6 card, or... No. Sam has a pair of aces. And Ante manages to find a ridiculous looking 2-pair there. Didn't even know he had it. Yeah, true, there's some really, really good games. What's Spielbank Berlin? I've never been there before. Is that good action in Germany? And I thought the whole thing with Holland Casino is that it was way too high in rake. Oh, I see. So a massive poker room in the middle of Berlin. Fair enough. Yeah, I've heard the same. I was quite surprised to see it was very reasonable in Bratislava, and Austria wasn't too bad either. So what is it in terms of 20 cap, 5%, so 5 big blind cap. That's not too bad. That's 2.4 euros. What's the PLO games that run there? $5.5, yeah, that's good. It's a reasonable stake level, and it's the same rate. So Lucien betting pot on the flop and forcing out Ante there. Cheers, mate. So it looks like we've got a dealer change as we're moving into the last 45 minutes or so. Connor working his charm there in C4.
Blinduri noi la main event, 600, 1200, big blindate, 1200. Acesta este ultimul nivel cu posibilitatea de late entry sau re-entry.
So Stefan with his gut shot and top pair is going to try and weasel out the field a little bit here. 5%, 25, no surprise there. No additional drops, so that's not too bad. I mean, it's not a disaster, it's not great, is it? Yeah, that's a good point. What's it like over in America or anywhere else that you played poker before? Yeah, it's just a way of getting around it, I guess, isn't it? So action flying in here as Stefan turns himself an open-ender with another gut shot and a flush draw. And it's a 9 on the river, so Jack 10 is all he's got to offer. And Istrate should be able to beat that. Yeah, Queens get the job done there. Yeah, Istrate there is it's been an interesting player, that's for sure, Jeffrey. Not someone I don't think we need to go too deeply into the strategy behind the reasoning for the decisions. Huevos Rancheros, and currently in Mexico City, where the game is 25.50 pesos, and they take 50 out of every pot over 250. So what's that? 20% rake if it's a small pot. Oh, if it's a 5 big blind pot, they just take 20%, and then... Oh, so it's just one big blind, basically. So I'm just trying to work that out.
We have 3 seats available for the TV table. It will start at 9:30 p.m. The game will be Texas Hold'em, blinds to 5, minimum buy-in, €500.
Wow, that sounds juicy. Yeah, but you're always going to get a pot of over 250, right? Sorry, I was getting used to the big numbers there. So 25.50. So if there's a 5 big blind pot, it's 1 big blind rake. If it's underneath that, which is what, like a limp blind, V blind, and a stab, it's 20%. Yeah. And then you realise, hang on a sec, this is the best rake structure I've ever seen. That's like 1.5%. Oh, under 250 there is no rake. Okay. Yeah, basically. So you do want to limp the small blind. They take 3% of your winnings when they cash out. What's that, like a local tax law or something, or is it just like the way it works over there? And what's that in 25.50 pesos? Awkward spot here for Latara with the second nut straight, facing a raise from Stefan to 300. Flicks it in and gets shown the bad news. And despite the fact that they're sharing some red wine together, might not be friends for too much longer after that one. Ouch. So what you do is you keep the winnings as chips, and then if you have a losing day, you can just cash those winnings with the tax. Okay, I see. But they're keeping like an eye on how much you're in for and out for all the time. Do they have pot limit Omaha in Mexico? I'm actually quite intrigued. Might have to come along. It's like middling. Basically what Huevos Rancheros was saying there, I'll just call him Huevo, what he was saying was that, you know, if that's a good rake in Europe, it's not great, and, you know, I've played in worse rakes, I've played in better rakes, but I think it's definitely in the bottom. It's not something I travel to go and play, that's for sure. They had some fantastic PLO in Colombia though. Yeah, PLO games are pretty much good anywhere, to be honest. It's really, really tough to find a low to mid stakes PLO game that's solid these days, just because it's so far behind No Limit Hold'em. Great flop for Andreas here, flopping second nut flush. Second nut straight with the nut flush draw. Lucian is on the worst end of it there, with blockers to the bad end of the straight and a 7-high flush draw. And Pierre has the nut straight with a redraw to a better nut straight. So money's going to be flying in here between Andreas and Pierre for sure. But he does just call with no backdoor flush draw, no backdoor flush draws, looking to navigate himself onto a safe turn card and then get the rest of the money in there, which he does find in that 7 of diamonds. Ante deciding to check back here. Maybe a little bit onto Pierre here, who has been one of the more snug players. Pierre improving to the nut straight. Interesting to see what size he goes for here, and you know, Andreas can't really beat anything now. Does have Jack 7 for 2 pair, which was the straight that he flopped on the flop. Costa Rica's supposed to be very good for poker in general, both no limit and PLO. That's incredible. Ooh. I'm looking where to go in December, and obviously somewhere like that is going to have good weather all year round, right? So yeah, we'll do, Jeffrey, we'll do. Got you on Facebook. As you can see there, the VPIPs very high for both, pretty much everyone on the right hand side of the table there. Istrid and Andreas, Laterra and Pierre, Connor and Sam playing a little bit more conservatively. Good to see the old droid there with the beer in his hand. Yeah, that's what I mean, Wevo. I've heard so many good things. A lot of my friends have gone travelling there. The cost of living is low. I mean, obviously, there's a little bit of a risk involved if you don't take that the wrong way, where, like, you know, going out on the street late at night as a tall white man, you know, I become a little bit of a target, I guess, especially if I'm travelling around with lots of currency, and I guess you'd have to stay in hotels where you've got safes and things like that, rather than sort of going around from Airbnb to Airbnb with, you know, thousands of whatever currency on me. So Andreas popping it up here with the double suited ace 9-8-7-4. I think it's a really nice playable hand from the cutoff. Looks like we've got some straddles in the mix. Connor is on the... No straddles, sorry, just a pot-sized open and 4 callers. King Jack Deuce with 2 clubs. Laterra flopping Royal Flush Draw here. Needs the Queen of Clubs for the absolute lot. So it gets a bit of a nightmare. Oh, finds the rivered pocket 3s. Might go for a little stab at this one. Looks to be somewhere in the region of about 15. Pierre, who's reaching for chips now. Looks like he may be putting in a raise here. Gets a snap fold out of Laterra, who's just about fed up of paying people off on rivers. And a very underbluff line as well from Pierre there. Be tough to believe that he's deciding to snap pot just the naked jack as a bluff. What's Mexico City like as a destination? Yubsy boy. Straight back in for the good stuff. That's exactly what I'm thinking. Start in Mexico City, head down through Guatemala, Honduras, Panama, get to Colombia. Where's Costa Rica? Bogota, Medellin, Mexico City, Lima, and San Jose. Okay. So your advice, basically, whoever is to stay in nicer, more upmarket places, spend a little bit extra just to sort of guarantee a little bit more safety. I guess take cabs everywhere when you've come out of the casino with lots of money. Panama City, okay. Where's Costa Rica? I'm just having a look on the map now, I can't find it.
How many cars?
Oh, it's between Nicaragua and Panama. There we go. Yeah, I mean, I was living in London and working in the sports betting industry for about 18 months to 2 years or so, and the rent was just incredible. You know, you'd be lucky to get a room relatively near the city centre, i.e. not taking an hour to commute in, for under sort of 800-900. A lot of my friends live in relatively stuffy flats in South London. They've still got to travel an hour door to door each morning just to get into work, even though they are in London, which kind of defeats the point. And you know, over half of their disposable income is going on rent and living costs. Prison break. So it's straight. Andreas and Latera in there, and Latera flops the absolute lot with top set and the nut flush draw. Does have a queen blocker as well, so I like his decision to continue slow playing. And gets a bet out of Istrate now, who has just the king high flush draw and is completely dead. Jack on the river's about the worst card in the deck for Latera, and Istrate has king king X, so is he going to decide to turn that into a bluff here? I think based on the way that Latera's played this hand, having checked the flop, he's going to have to call this bet on the river. Oh. Has he folded? Not too sure what's going on here as the graphics are playing up a little bit. But it looks like the Latera's just snap folded top set there. Shaking his head. Wow. I think that's a little bit more on the more cautious side. I've stayed in a nice area. Bogota, and had a private suite in the kind of hotel rented suites that was like $350 a month all in. Oh my word. That is ridiculous. Especially if you're playing the same stakes as you'd be playing over in Europe anyway. Just means that your sort of like life win rate, as in not just what you're winning at the tables, but how much you're actually clearing month to month, is going to go up substantially. Oh, that makes sense. I didn't realise Uber was worldwide. Yeah, 3 nights in London for $350, and that would be in a budget travel lodge. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? 100 a night in the Holiday Inn. What for basically is, for the stay in Cash Game Festival, a bed just to crash in and then get back in the action. Terra getting that one through with a bet on the flop and finally starting to get some momentum going. Hello, Mr. Oldroyd, how are you? You just finished?
Just finished.
Okay, so not too far away, guys, from the end of the stream. Looks like we're going to have about 4 or 5 more hands to go. What's a rock, Huevo? Because that's the game that I'd be playing, and I'm not really too fussed on Hold'em these days. Even though I can imagine the games there would be quite soft. Is a rock like a Mississippi straddle or something like that? So if you win the hand, you have to do a compulsory straddle. So if you win the hand in the button, then you have to straddle from the small blind. And it's a fixed amount. Okay, but if you win it and then always do 2x, you look like a bit of a nit, so get less action type thing. So Stefan popping up here with a double suited Jack 9 8 4. In a game this sort of call heavy, I'd probably let this one go. Just because our 2 flush draws aren't going to perform well multi-way, and we don't have the perfect 3-liner. If we had like a Jack 10-9, I'd probably do it with the dangler, the double suited. But I think Jack 9-8-4 is a little bit too wide. So calls all round. A straight deciding just to call there from the small blind with the single suited kings. And going to a flop here. Stefan has flopped pretty well. 2 backdoor flush, 1 backdoor flush draw with the open ender, and has a blocker to middle set as well. So a lot of good things that can come on the turn for him. The Terra, we've not been able to see his cards over the last few hands, but he looks like he's going to come along for the 40 as well. Oh, raising to 130, so pretty much committing his stack here. You'd be imagining that he would have more of a value-heavy hand with so many players behind, such as 10-8, 8s or 10s. Having flattered from +2 is not really going to have... oh, that's a great card for Laterra's range. And it does go check-check, and there's not really a surprise there, because a lot of the hands that he is representing have the effect of nuts there on that river. And he gets a bet out of Stefan, who improves to the straight on the river, and I don't think Stefan has really thought this through in enough depth with 3 players behind on the flop. Laterra raising a bet. It's going to be all in a lot of the time, and and yeah, it shows the straight. And Laterra, I think, will have 10-8 or quad 10s here the majority of the time. Yeah, you are, Jeffrey, that's right, but he won't know that they're not registering, I guess. In terms of Colombian pesos, the game is 5k, 5k with the rock, but some nights we'll play 5k, 5k. Jesus Christ, yeah, that sounds huge. What is it like in places like that if you'd go over there as like a tourist and start playing as a reg in the game? Would they get a bit irate about the fact that someone is taking money out of the game, or is it just like a casino game? Because I guess usually in places like that where the local economy is a bit weaker, it's like quite a small community of players that would be playing quite what is essentially a very big PLO game in that area. That's a really good point, actually. I hadn't thought of that, because when I played in Vietnam and just places with like a bit more of a severe distribution of wealth in their sort of local community, you do tend to just end up playing with the guys that don't really give two shits about the money either way, which is obviously a nice spot to be in anywhere in the world. Yeah, like literally you just said the same point. It's crazy, isn't it? People have either got absolutely nothing, which is like 95% of the population, or the 5% that are basically running the show. Yeah, and that's good for us. I'm going to definitely look into that. Thanks very much, whoever, for the information, and thanks for tuning in. I dare say we have many viewers from Mexico City, but it's a pleasure to have you. I'm going to Cambodia in a month's time, Jeffrey, so I'll update you on what the games are like over there. As we do go back to the turn card here, seeing an array of hands. This straight has bottom set. Lucian has a straight, but the bottom end of it, and with this much action in front of him, you know, you wouldn't be surprised to see him only call here and try and navigate himself to a safe turn card. Could be a disaster if he gets it in, gets repotted for 1.4. Whoa, and he just folds? It shows the cards that weren't the straight. Doesn't have anything to improve on the river, to be fair to him. So his straight has bottom set with the flush draw. We yet to see Pierre's hands, and Stefan had the same hand. 4 on the river, and the bottom boat there for Istret in seat 6. Which maybe makes Lucian's play a bit better, but we'll see what Pierre had. If Pierre had the 6-3, then it potentially could have been a very disciplined laydown. It's a very tough spot. And is that going to take it down? See an ace-3 there for the straight. Not looking too good on the paired board. Istrit there showing he's got a full house, and that looks to be the... Oh. So the dealer missed out the fact that he's got a full house. Yeah, there we go. So €370 pot heading in the direction of seat 6. Lima had an interesting casino, 30-60 no limit hold'em. Jesus, that is massive. Whoever, did you go over there to play poker, or were you just are you traveling with work, or some sort of different lifestyle choice? Be interesting to hear the backstory there, as I don't hear many people that have gone over to that part of the world to grind. And Marit's there, we call him the Grim Reaper, as when he turns up in the background, the game is usually coming to an end. Looks like we might be. Is this the last? Ooh. Not sure if this is the exact last hand. Oh, great stuff. Do you have Instagram or anything, mate? Tim Carr 93, nice one, pal. So Laterra popping it up here with the double suited ace king queen, really strong hand. It's going to perform multi-way in these kind of loosey-goosey environments. Does flop pretty well. Backdoor straight draws, 3 overcards, gut shot to the nuts and the nut flush draw, of course. And Andreas here is just got top pair and not a lot else to go with it. 10-9 for a gut shot, but has players behind. Interesting to see Laterra just call there. I think we'd want to be pushing a little bit more equity, or I'm guessing his decision is to try and let in worse hands behind. Istrit looks like he's locked up based on some of the tendencies we saw from him earlier on. Bottom 2 and a flush draw there would never have been folded at the beginning. Wow, and Andreas is just going to heave ho and hope for the best. Top pair, the gut shot. Yeah, I mean that's what I mean. I don't think there's much on 2+2 or anything either. I haven't seen a whole lot of hype about South American games. I was trying to build my Instagram profile and they banned me from following for a short period of time. So I'll just have to direct message you.
2 times, yeah? I know that I have to go to store if I have more than 3 times. I know. I know that I have to go now, but I have to be there and they want to.
Turn card is an ace, improving Andreas to top 2 pair, and I don't see a king 10 out there. Not sure what Stefan's hand even is yet. Laterra improving to the nut flush on the second board, so he's going to take that one, and he does have ace queen on the top, so and he could be scooping all of them here. There's no king 10 there for Stefan. What's his middle card there? 10 10 or 10-9? 8-9. I think Laterra's winning both boards there with top 2 on the first and the nut flush on the second. Yeah, the game in Austria is incredible at Concord, Montesino, all of those for the PLO. It's just absolutely outrageous. It's more just spending time in South Central America that you love. Ah, fair enough. Guess the lifestyle over there is a lot more easygoing than parts of Europe. Zero pro 5-5 game. Yeah, not many pros, I guess, are camping out in Switzerland. Or a skiing town anywhere, really. Just hoping for the weekly 5-5 game. Unless it's that good. Free lift pass and all that jazz on the boys. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Wherever I personally would be going out there to play some reasonably sized PLO games and just see if I could make it work for a while. I'm not the sort of person that likes to stick around in the UK for the rest of my life. It's just kind of dreary, if I'm honest. Looks like we've got the last hand here as the cash game crew there crowding around the outside. I can't get into America, can I, because of that visa ban thing. Yeah, I can't afford to play 2K now, and I don't think I'm good enough either. So Andreas here raising to 60 off his 200 stack, just possibly looking to get it in, have a little bit of a dabble. Lucien, Latera, Stefan coming along, and Lucien here's got the easiest pot of his life. Try and thin out a couple of the guys. If he's ever seen the Cash Game Festival before, he might realise that people just don't fold in the last hand, so he's going to have to cling on for dear life to those aces. So still trying to work out what the pot is. 60 times 3 plus 4 should be somewhere around 400, is it? 360. Not including zone 1. Yeah, and I mean, if living expenses there are 350, like you said, it's complete peanuts, right? So we know that Lucien has potted. Latera is not going to gamble with that hand, I don't think. Having spun it back up to 1.7k, winning that huge three-way all-in. Stefan's going to gamble. He's got actually not that bad of a hand to gamble with versus some what should be strong ranges, but it's still a bit of a dust. He's straight now deciding whether he wants to go for it, just with a pair of 4s. And let's see what Andreas is playing with. He might even be blind just on the 200 spin. Whoever, drop me a follow on that Instagram, and once I get my account back and sorted, I'll give you a message, because I'm very interested to do that. Potentially come to Mexico City and move my way down. Be cool to meet someone like-minded like that. I've just put it above there and under the Cash Game Festival thing. So, that's a great flop and a great start for Lucien, and he turns everyone basically dead. I think they were dead, yep, fully dead. Are they running it twice? 1.7k pot. Okie dokie. Yeah, no one had a 7, so he had the full win on the turn. Not sure what the commotion is. Okay, so one more board. And that's a good start for once again for Lucien once again, who flops a wrap. Oh, what's going on here? Dealer's now shuffling the cards. The burn cards are going back in from the last hand.
Bit of controversy about this.
What's going on? Why is the burn cards going back in?
So the there wasn't enough cards in the deck, so they had to reshuffle them. And then the guy with the aces is kicking off because he's saying you're not supposed to reshuffle in the burn cards.
Yeah, of course he's not. No, you don't reshuffle in the burn cards. It's just from...
should be from the rest of the deck.
Yeah, it should be from the mucked cards, right?
I mean, he wins both anyway and then
He
continues kicking off.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably the principle he's thinking about, but he's won once again, guys. Flopping the gin on the second board. Sorry, the first board, and flopping pretty well with the having the ace of diamonds blocker. No one else with the live flush draw.
Înregistrările pentru acest turneu s-au închis.
Okay, and that looks like that's going to wrap it up. We've seen some controversy there. Sam just filling us in that seat 7 Lucian was very disappointed with the way that that was dealt with. Obviously, the burn cards going back in the would sort of change his possibility of potentially winning the hand, or could skew it back from what should be done. Looks like he's taking it in better spirits now, and Marit's laughing it all off. We will be back in half an hour for some 2-5 no limit hold'em. And I'm looking forward to joining you then. See you later, guys.
Cash Game Festival in Bratislava, day 5.
And you still have a chance to join it.
Cash Game Festival.
It's Cash Game Festival.
Cash Game Festival. Ladies, girls and boys and men, don't ever miss the Cash Game Festival.
I've been coming to Cash Game Festival for some time now. The games are amazing, the people are amazing, like, look at the venue. You meet so many amazing people here. That's one of the things that I